If you're sitting on the line, hang tight. We're going to come back to you at 1-877-Newsmax. But we're going to break for a story here because no matter how you slice it, no matter how you dice it, no matter your opinion, point is it is history before our eyes. A major American cruise ship line sailing from Miami with around 700 passengers on board, docking in Cuba for the first time in nearly 40 years, brings hope, joy, and a lot of American cash to that communist island. It's a trip that almost didn't happen, and one that has a good number of Americans wondering why such a fuss is being made. Your calls on this, our Political Monday issues, right after John Bachman sets the table. John?
That's right. At a lot of hard currency. The Cuban government needs that. Now, Cubans were cheering today as a Carnival Adania docked in Havana this morning. This is just the latest example of how relations between Cuba and the United States continue to normalize after the Obama administration started to open things up with the communist Castro regime about a year ago. But the Adania's voyage to Cuba was not without controversy. Cuban Americans balked at a law that barred natural-born Cubans from traveling to the island nation by ship. As a result, Carnival considered delaying this trip. But then 2 weeks ago, Cuba's government caved and nixed that controversial law. So the trip went as planned, much to the delight of passengers.
There's a lot of controversy. Some of my friends thought I was foolish, but something I wanted to always do.
I think it's great bringing the countries together.
Well, Cuba will see as much as $80 million a year of new tourism revenue as more U.S.-based cruise operators plan to follow suit. Most of that will go directly to Cuba's communist government. Experts say companies like Carnival will have to pay about $500,000 per trip to the Castro regime. But Carnival CEO Arnold Duncan is trying to focus on the more positive aspects of today's historic arrival.
To be a part of truly making history and preparing for an even more positive future for everyone is one of the greatest honors any company can have.
Now, the cost of a 7-day cruise is $1,800 per person, excluding taxes, but also important to note here, the number of Cubans fleeing that communist nation is at its highest point in 8 years, a much less luxurious cruise ship, if you will, Ed, to the United States.
And a lot of money going hands in there. Thanks a lot, John. We appreciate that. Now, if you want to talk about this, 1-877-Newsmax, because quite frankly, the people in South Florida, Cuban-American communities, Cuban communities around the country look at this as historic. It is indeed. There's a lot of money changing hands here. Look, let's be very honest. People are in this to make money at this point. So is the Cuban government. People keep asking, why is this such a big deal? And why do we care so much about a little island just 90 miles south of Miami? That's part of the question here. We'll throw that out to you. 1-877-Newsmax. Plus, we still have a lot left over from Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, all the issues here. Plus, we haven't even yet talked about how Donald Trump said that he used the word rape with regard to China and our trade deficit as well, which still has a lot of people upset. Then again, Donald Trump is never upset. Richard B. from Georgia, you're next up on Newsmax and the Hardline. Hey, Richard.
How you doing?
Another day in paradise. I get better looking every day.
Listen, I was wondering why no one ever mentions about Trump being under investigation and Hillary being under investigation.
All right, specify. Trump being under investigation for what? Because there's Trump University and a bunch of other things. Make it short, stay on point. Go.
Trump University.
Okay, Trump University, we have talked about on this show. There is indeed an investigation there as well. We have talked about it here. Now, I guess with Hillary Clinton, you're also talking about the investigation over the emails, correct?
Correct.
We've mentioned that as well. I think that it's very fair to say that all this gets mentioned, it gets talked about. It's up to the people to make the decision. Which one bothers you more? Trump's investigation or Clinton's investigation? Which one has you on edge more?
Clinton's.
Clinton, because?
It involves national security.
There you go. It's a good point. But trust me, when it comes to this show, we will look at everything. We will talk about it. We will not just sit on one side of the fence like far too many other people do. We will talk about it. I appreciate the note. Thanks a lot. 1-877-Newsmax. Harold M. from Ohio. Next up on the Hardline. Hello, Harold.
Hello. Appreciate you taking my call.
It's a pleasure. Go for it. What do you got?
I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say that I'm not a very educated man, but I really believe that the people will make a mistake if they don't elect Donald Trump.
Why?
Well, I've watched this whole thing. I've watched your show every night. You're fair with everybody, regardless of what goes on, just like the mice attacking deal. You tell them what you think. And I just believe that he is the only one that can really straighten this place up.
Okay, we appreciate that. Harold, thanks a lot for calling. Do it again sometime. Ellen C. from Kansas. You're talking about Trump, the impact. Hey, the impact on Congress, Ellen. Most people are not talking about this because Harry Reid says that we will get the Senate back. And a lot of people believe, this again is what a lot of the people outside believe, that if Donald Trump gets elected, then the Senate, then the House. Everything will fold like a house of cards, and the Democrats will take control. Is that what bothers you? What worries you?
Well, yes, that bothers me tremendously. I grew up right outside Washington, D.C., and I think Reed was there too then. But my concern is, yes, that everyone is paying attention to the race for presidency. It is a bungling mess. And
that's a good way. I tell you what, Ellen, I'm going to have that put on a T-shirt. Bungling mess. Nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, but very quickly, very quickly here.
Me, sir,
go ahead.
What concerns me is nobody but Harry Reid is talking about the House and the Senate.
Okay, now is it not possible, very quickly, Ellen, is it not possible that some people will say that if Donald Trump gets elected, he brings everybody together and the Republicans win?
What I'm concerned about is term limits. We have professional politicians in the White House, or in and around the White House, making decisions about my life. And I'm tired of the lies and the cheating and the stealing that's going on right here in this country. I could care less about China. I could care less about Saudi Arabia. I'm concerned about what's happening here.
I appreciate that, because you're right. A lot of people do.
Donald
Unfortunately,
Trump,
we're all out of time. We got to move on here. We'll talk to you again. Want to remind everybody, stay on the line if you're here. 1-877-Newsmax. We've got a guest coming up here in a couple minutes. We're heading right down to more of your calls. Reminder, tonight, an NRA town hall hosted by Wayne LaPierre, the executive vice president of NRA. He is an outspoken critic of President Obama's gun control policies. This town hall premieres tonight, right here, 10 o'clock Eastern Time on Newsmax TV. More of your calls, more guests, and a whole lot more. The fastest 60 minutes of news right after